Another day, another story. There are times when something makes us so angry that we cannot prevent a visceral reaction, sometimes a physical one. It seems only human, but it seems a little peculiar when that something is a work of art. Following are some instances of art taking it on the chin: who did it, how, when, and what the vandals said when asked why. Welcome to Tabo Eminent Channel 1. Argenteuil Bassin with a single sailboat. Argenteuil Bassin with a single sailboat is a painting created by the renowned French Impressionist artist Claude Monet. Monet was a key figure in the Impressionist movement, known for his innovative use of color and light to capture the essence of a scene. The painting Argenteuil Bassin with a single sailboat was completed in 1874 and is a beautiful example of Monet's style during that period. Argenteuil, a suburb of Paris, was a favorite location for Monet, and he painted numerous works featuring the Seine River and its surroundings. In this particular painting, Monet depicts a tranquil scene of the Argenteuil Bassin, with a single sailboat gracefully gliding on the water. The artist's brushstrokes are loose and spontaneous, capturing the changing effects of light and atmosphere. Monet's use of vibrant colors and the play of light on the water's surface exemplify the Impressionist emphasis on capturing the immediacy of a moment. Argenteuil Bassin with a single sailboat reflects Monet's fascination with nature and his desire to convey the sensory experience of a scene rather than focusing on precise details. The painting is part of the broader Impressionist movement's exploration of new ways to represent the world, moving away from traditional, detailed realism. Overall, this painting is celebrated not only for its aesthetic appeal, but also for its historical significance within the context of Impressionist art. Monet's work, including pieces like Argenteuil Bassin with a single sailboat, has had a profound influence on the development of modern art. The time and date: just before 11 a.m. on June 29, 2012. The assaulted work, Claude Monet's Argenteuil Bassin with a single sailboat, 1874. The scene of the crime, National Gallery of Ireland. The perpetrator, 49-year-old Andrew Shannon. The weapon, Shannon's fist. The reason offered by the perp, unstable angina. The perp claimed to have fallen against the painting in a fit of dizziness. However, the damage was done in an area above the level of Shannon's eyes. 2. Black on Maroon. Black on Maroon is a painting by the abstract expressionist artist Mark Rothko. Rothko was known for his large-scale color-field paintings that aimed to evoke emotional and contemplative responses from viewers. Black on Maroon is part of a series of paintings Rothko created for the Seagram Building in New York City in the late 1950s. The Seagram murals were commissioned for the Four Seasons restaurant in the Seagram Building, a modernist skyscraper designed by architects Ludwig Mies van der Rohe and Philip Johnson. However, Rothko ultimately decided not to have his paintings displayed in a restaurant setting, believing it was incompatible with the serious and contemplative nature of his work. The paintings were never installed in the intended location, and Rothko retained ownership of them. Black on Maroon features a deep, dark palette with black forms set against a maroon background. Rothko's paintings from this period are characterized by large, rectangular fields of color that seem to hover on the canvas. The simplicity of the composition and the emphasis on color create an immersive experience for the viewer, encouraging introspection and emotional engagement. The Seagram murals are considered some of Rothko's masterpieces, and they are now housed at the Tate Modern in London. The conservation and restoration of these paintings have been particularly notable due to an infamous incident in 2012 when the work Black on Maroon was vandalized at the Tate Modern by a man who wrote on the painting with black ink. The restoration process was a challenging task that involved careful removal of the ink without causing further damage to the original artwork. The time and date, 3:25 p.m. on October 7, 2012. The assaulted work, Mark Rothko's Black on Maroon, 1958. The scene of the crime, Tate Modern, London. The perpetrator, 26-year-old Vladimir Umanets. The weapon, black ink applied by Umanets, who wrote his name and the words, "A potential piece of yellowism." The name of a would-be movement co-founded by the perp on the painting. The reason offered by the perp. He said, "I am not a vandal. Art allows us to take what someone's done and put a new message on it." 3. Fountain. The time and date, 1993 and January 3, 2006. The assaulted work. Both times Marcel Duchamp's ready-made fountain, 1964. The scene of the crime, Nîmes, France, 1993, and Pompidou Centre, Paris, 2006. The perpetrator. Both times Frenchman Pierre Pinoncelli. The weapon. Both times mainly a hammer. The reason offered by the perp. During questioning the second time around, Pinoncelli told police that his hammer attack was a work of performance art, and then said that it might have pleased the artists of Dada. 4. The Toilet of Venus. The time and date, just past 10 a.m. on March 10, 1914. The assaulted work, the so-called Rokeby Venus, The Toilet of Venus, by Diego Velázquez. The scene of the crime, the National Gallery, London. The perpetrator, suffragette Mary Richardson. The weapon, a meat cleaver, with which she smashed the painting's protective glass and then began slashing the canvas. The reason offered by the perp. After her arrest, Richardson said, "I have tried to destroy the picture of the most beautiful woman in mythological history as a protest against the government, destroying Mrs. Pankhurst, who is the most beautiful character in modern history. Justice is an element of beauty as much as color and outline on canvas." Many years later, she confessed, "I didn't like the way men visitors to the gallery gaped at it all day." The truth comes out. 5. Work No 2227. The lights going on and off. The time and date, December 11, 2001. The assaulted work, Work No 227. The lights going on and off by Martin Creed. The scene of the crime, Tate Britain, London. The perpetrator, artist Jacqueline Crofton. The weapon, 2 chicken eggs. The reason offered by the perp. Crofton acted on a dream she had of vandalizing Creed's work after it was selected as the winner of the Turner Prize. She claimed to have nothing against Creed, although I do not think his work can be considered as art. At worst, the lights going on and off is an electrical work. At best, it is philosophy. What I object to fiercely is that we've got this cartel who control the top echelons of the art world in this country and leave no access for painters and sculptors with real creative talent. Sounds a tad like envy, no? 6. Pietà. The time and date, May 21, 1972. The assaulted work, Pietà by Michelangelo. The scene of the crime, St. Peter's Basilica, Vatican City. The perpetrator, unemployed geologist Laszlo Toth. The weapon, a hammer, 12 blows. The reason offered by the perp. Toth offered no reason. He was certifiable enough to claim alternately that he was Jesus Christ and Michelangelo. 7. Militia Company of District 2 under the command of Captain Franz Banning Koch. The time and date, 1990, also 1911 and 1975. The assaulted work, Rembrandt van Reen's so-called Night Watch militia company of District 2, under the command of Captain Frans Banning Kok. The scene of the crime, Rijksmuseum, Amsterdam. The perpetrator, escaped psychiatric patient PG, as the New York Times reported. The weapon, sprayed sulfuric acid. The reason offered by the perp, none. He was not coherent. Oddly enough, it is thought that this was the same man who 9 years later used a kitchen knife to severely damage a Picasso, nude in front of a garden, at the Stedelijk Museum in Amsterdam. 8. Curtin. The time and date, August 7th, 1993. The assaulted work, Curtains by Roy Lichtenstein. The scene of the crime, Whitney Museum of American Art, New York City. The perpetrator, temporary Whitney guard Reginald Walker. The weapon, felt tip pen. The reason offered by the perp. He was apparently overcome by love. He drew a heart and wrote the words, Reggie ein Crystal, I love you Tushy love buns. 9. Away from the flock. The time and date, May 9th, 1994. The assaulted work, Away from the Flock, an installation of a dead sheep floating in a formaldehyde, by Damien Hirst. The scene of the crime, Serpentine Gallery, London. The perpetrator, artist Mark Bridger. The weapon, black ink poured into the tank of formaldehyde. The reason offered by the perp, I was in a carpe diem frame of mind. Tomorrow may not be available. To live is to do things. I was providing an interesting addendum to his work. In terms of conceptual art, the sheep had already made its statement. Art is there for creation of awareness, and I added to whatever it was meant to say. Whatever. 10. Composition in white, black, and red. The time and date, November 2nd, 1996. The assaulted work, Piet Mondrian's composition in white, black, and red. The scene of the crime, Museum of Modern Art, MoMA, New York City. The perpetrator, artist Jubal Brown. The weapon, projectile vomit consisting of blue gelatin and blue icing. The reason offered by the perp. This was the second instance of Brown deliberately ingesting foods of a particular color in order to vomit on particular works of art that he considered oppressively trite and painfully banal. The first was Raoul Dufy's Harbor at Le Havre, which was just so boring it needed color. That time, he vomited red gelatin and red icing. He said that he found the Mondrian work's lifelessness threatening. Yeah, maybe somebody needed some attention. 11. Bamiyan Buddhas. The Bamiyan Buddhas were two monumental statues of Buddha carved into the side of a cliff in the Bamiyan Valley in central Afghanistan. These colossal statues were significant examples of Gandhara art and stood as cultural and historical treasures for many centuries. The Buddhas were carved during the 6th to 7th centuries CE and were once among the tallest standing Buddhas in the world. Key details about the Bamiyan Buddhas. Dimensions. The larger of the two Buddhas stood approximately 175 feet, 53 meters, tall. The smaller Buddha was about 115 feet, 35 meters in height. Construction. The Buddhas were carved into the sandstone cliffs of the Bamiyan Valley. They were adorned with elaborate decorations and were examples of the fusion of Greco-Buddhist artistic styles. Destruction. In 2001, the Taliban, who controlled Afghanistan at the time, ordered the destruction of the Bamiyan Buddhas. The decision was condemned internationally, and efforts were made to prevent the destruction. Despite international appeals and protests, the Taliban used dynamite and artillery to destroy the statues in March 2001. Significance. The Bamiyan Buddhas were important cultural and religious symbols for Buddhists and held historical value for the region. They were UNESCO World Heritage Sites before their destruction. Cultural impact. The destruction of the Bamiyan Buddhas sparked outrage worldwide, and it was seen as an attack on cultural heritage and religious tolerance. Efforts have been made to document and reconstruct the Buddhas digitally, and discussions continue regarding the possibility of rebuilding them. The Bamiyan Buddha's destruction remains a symbol of the challenges faced by cultural heritage in times of conflict and the importance of international efforts to preserve and protect such sites. The time and date. Over the course of several days in March 2001, the assaulted work, two monumental 6th century Gandhara-style Buddhas, the scene of the crime, Bamiyan, Afghanistan. The perpetrator, Taliban, using various agents at the command of Mullah Muhammad Omar. The weapon, dynamite, tanks, and anti-aircraft weapons. The reason offered by the perp, to rid the world of un-Muslim idolatry, human heritage be damned. Thanks for watching. Request you to subscribe the channel.